Should we get into predictions?
Yes, let's do it.
So we got 5 each, right?
Oh no, you said you had 5, and I was like, okay, you got 5 then, John. I'll react to your 5. Yeah. Sorry about that. I thought that it was because it was originally 3.
That's fine.
And you were like, yeah, I'll do.
That's fine.
Then another thing is like, oh, okay. Well, then I guess John will do 5, and I'll react to it. And make it
that's fine.
more conversational.
That's great. Exceptional podcasting.
There you go.
So my first prediction is perhaps unsurprising. I think the Bucks are going to win the championship this year.
Okay, and I'll react with one of my own. I think the Bucks are winning the championship this year.
I like them apples.
There you go.
How do you think this is going to go? Because I think it could go a number of different ways. I think looking at the East right now, I think Miami will be heard from in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
I could see Philadelphia being heard from in some way, shape, or form. Then what? Yeah.
After a trade. Yeah.
And maybe that'll be another prediction. And then obviously Brooklyn. I'll say this. I think the Bucks' toughest test, and maybe this is disrespectful to Phoenix, I feel like the Bucks' toughest test will once again come in the Eastern Conference. Like, yeah. I don't see, all due respect to Golden State, I know you love you some Klay Thompson. You really do love you some. I
do love me some Klay Thompson.
You do love you some Klay Thompson.
I also don't think Klay Thompson's the X factor that it'll matter as much. If he comes back and is Klay Thompson again, then it's different. I need to see it first before I make any of those conclusions. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. But I think he is going to come back. I think he's going to be good. I think the Bucks I think there's some institutional memory there. I like what they've put together. I like their core. Love me some Pat. Let me get sure I get the pronunciation right. Connaughton.
There we go. He's learned, everybody.
I have learned. That was on this podcast, right? Where
that was on the Patreon. Yes.
That was on the Patreon. Okay. Bobby Portis, know your role. I was looking at it. This is funny. I know no Knicks talk on here, but I was looking up Julius Randle's advanced stats earlier today from this year. And there's one, I forget if it's VORP or like win shares per 48 or like box, but one of those, he's like 70 something in whatever the stat is, one spot below Bobby Portis.
Oh, they kept the wrong power forward.
They kept the wrong power forward.
Yeah, they had so many and they kept the wrong one. I remember that
goodness
summer.
Gracious. Yeah, well, road's not taken, right? Get well, Julius.
Max contract, Bobby Portis.
Max contract, Bobby Portis.
Oh man. Wow.
Yeah, so, but I mean, no, I feel, I don't know if my confidence level on this one is like a 10, but it's more than a 5. It's like maybe 6, 7, bordering on 8. I do have a lot of confidence in Milwaukee and Giannis, but in particular.
I think, look, the overarching factor here is I don't see Kyrie playing a home game of that series. I don't think we're not going to turn this into a vaccine conversation. I just don't ever think he's going to get vaccinated. So if the Bucks get home court in that series, which probably won't happen, then you're counting on Kyrie. It actually almost makes sense for them to not get home court. Like if they're the 2 or the 3 seed, and then the conference finals, they don't have to face Kyrie for 1, 2, 5, and 7. You know, so that's what I'm factoring into this. That as currently constructed, Brooklyn like can't stop a big man, whether it's Embiid, whether it's Jokic, whether it's like Vucevic. They can't stop a big man. So when they play Giannis, he's going to be able to average 35 and 15 a game. And that is not a recipe for beating the Bucks. And that's why I think come playoff time, the Bucks, I think, will be able to get through the Nets. The Eastern Conference, so is it Philly that you think is the Eastern Conference team that can pose the most fight against them in like a second round matchup or something if Philly can get the 3 seed?
So I don't know that Philly could get the 3 seed, and maybe maybe this is a good lead into our next prediction. So right now, Philly is again at press time. Right now, I can't believe I was rooting for the fucking Nets in that game because if the Nets had won, what?
Yeah, what were you doing?
Well, because if the Nets had won, the Sixers would be, the Knicks would only be a game back of the Sixers.
There's still only two games in the loss column. Plenty of bad teams the Knicks are going to play over the next 11. We can catch up. I like laughing at Brooklyn.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
23-10 Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah.
So the Sixers right now are 5 back of Brooklyn. They're 4.5 back of Chicago. Like that they could make up that ground if they play well for the rest of the year. I think they do have it in them to play well, especially with Cleveland looking like now with Rubio down. And I think he's a big part of what they did. Like there's some comeback to earth potential there. So like, let's say even Philly gets, like as they're currently constituted, they could get into the top. They could battle Miami for the 4 or 5. Maybe they even get ahead of Chicago. We don't know. Maybe there's some regression in Chicago. So if they're in that top 4, I think that's where they should look to. And then if they trade Ben Simmons for something that helps them this season, does that make them a real threat?
I think this is where if you have a Ben Simmons trade as one of your bold predictions, we should segue into that because then we can add that to the conversation.
I'll be very honest. I struggle with this one because I do not think that there is an obvious trade on the board, but at the same time, as we just were talking about on the town hall a little bit, the notion that Daryl Morey is going to potentially waste a year of Joel Embiid's prime, and he is in his prime right now, and he is doing damage when he wants to, in a year where, like, I don't know, as much as we just waxed poetic about Milwaukee, do we really think like the Bucks are some kind of unbeatable juggernaut, or do we think anybody in the West is like some unbeatable juggernaut? Like, no, I don't think so. I think if Joel Embiid has the right lineup around him in the playoffs, like they could absolutely go on a run and win the whole thing, or at least Daryl Morey is correct to think that is a possibility. But then you look around the league. So here are the candidates, and I will pick one of these, but I just want to go through the candidates briefly. Okay. So the candidates for. And again, I'm not saying it's a 1-for-1 trade. I'm just talking about like the candidates for who could potentially end up on the Sixers if a lot of other shit potentially happens. Russell Westbrook.
Okay.
Is a guy.
Is a guy. Yes.
Is a guy. DeJounte Murray is a guy. I don't think San Antonio would be in on Ben Simmons at the cost of DeJounte Murray, but I do want to just throw his name out there. Again, another guy. I don't think this is going to come to fruition, but I'll just throw the name Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And then I'm going to save my last Western Conference, two last Western Conference guys because I think they're the two most likely. One of the Pacers centers, I guess it would be Sabonis because Miles is a traditional 5. So, but can Sabonis play 4 next to Embiid? I don't think so. Julius Randle, his name has to be mentioned. And then I'm going to skip over another guy. I'll mention Bradley Beal again. Don't think it's likely. And then I'll give you my. And then can I give it? Can I say like it's going to be one of these 3 guys?
Okay.
Jaylen Brown, De'Aaron Fox, Damian Lillard.
I also would put it at those 3 guys. Can I eliminate who I don't? So Russ, there's a long-standing beef with Embiid that just in bringing Russ to go play with Embiid would hate that. You don't. It wouldn't work. That's not the guy you go get to play. I just don't think Russ and Embiid get
Drummond
along.
is on the team.
That is true, but that was always playful. Like,
was it?
Yeah, Embiid was always like, I'm better than you. And then Drummond, after a couple of years, like, yeah, you're probably better than me. And then he went to become his backup. Russ, legitimately, they had hands and then had a like stare down at the end of a game. Look, maybe as they get older, beef gets squashed. Russ is in his mid-30s now, so maybe
I don't think it's
situation fit would work. I don't think that's the situation.
I don't think it's a serious. I wanted to throw the name out there because of the contract and because but again, the Lakers don't have enough to incentivize the Sixers.
The division rivals, I don't see Philly making another trade with Boston after the Fultz Tatum thing happened. I get it, different regimes. You got to think about your fan base being like, wow, we're really trading Ben to a division rival again. The last time we did that, Jason Tatum became a Celtic. I don't see that being the place they go to solve their problems. It's why Kyrie has never made sense. We're trying to beat the Nets. Why wouldn't we keep him in Brooklyn where he can never play a home game?
I don't see Kyrie as a possibility.
The other options, the DeJounte Murrays, the
SGA
Foxes, the SGAs, the anybody in Indiana. So I'll ask you, how much does the will Ben Simmons go play there conversation?
I don't think
element of it matter to you.
I think he'll play for any one of 29 other teams.
It's literally just the Sixers he won't play for.
Yeah, I think he's out. I think he wants out.
Okay. If that's the case, then Sacramento, I think, is the lead candidate there.